Well, hello, this is Pastor Henry Green, and I am so excited because today on this platform, you're going to get to see something that's very, very rare. You're going to see three generations of Black men having conversation. And so I'm excited to have this opportunity to share this platform with two incredible young men that I want you to have an opportunity to meet now. The first one is D. Lloyd.
How you doing? My name is Dwayne Lloyd, D. Lloyd for short. Born and raised in Indianapolis. I spent time between Indy and LA. I'm a screenwriter by trade, and I just love life. I love God's word, and I love people, man. So I represent that middle-aged perspective on the code.
And next we have representing the younger generation, Talvey Patterson.
Greetings, everybody. My name is Talvey Patterson. And as previously said, I love all things God, all things life, all things love. This is a great opportunity to kind of hear three different perspectives of manhood, three different dynamics of what things pertain to when it comes to all things God, love, and people. Personally, I just love giving back to people, pouring into people. And so this platform was designed to do that. And hopefully you guys take the time to sit down and listen to what we have to say. I'm representing the young people and our perspective.
Well, and my name is Pastor Henry Green. I pastor Emmaus Christian Church in Indianapolis, Indiana. Before I was called into pastoring, though, I was extremely entrepreneurial. In fact, it almost feels like a whole nother life ago. Originally, I owned restaurants and nightclubs. God called me out of that business. And then some 6 years later, after he asked me to sell the businesses, I got called into ministry. I'm all about people living boldly better lives. So I'm excited to have this opportunity. So guys, let's chop it up.
All right.
So let's talk about, one of the things that I've noticed during the season of COVID, particularly right now, it seems like a lot of people are having difficulty. That I guess whatever you were kind of dealing with before COVID has now kind of got magnified. And I don't know if you guys are experiencing the same thing, but I'm seeing a lot of people kind of losing it a little bit right up in here.
Yeah. I think people are trying to adjust to the new normal. You know what I mean? It's like they've gotten so used to their lives being in a certain rhythm and having a certain cadence. And all of a sudden, this new thing has come about. I was telling a friend of mine, we didn't even get a really chance to mourn Kobe. Because me personally, that death hit me so hard because I met him a couple of times. And so I didn't get a chance to even breathe from that. I didn't even get that. And then here comes this COVID thing. And then my wife and my children and everybody, we're thrust into this new reality and we're having to adjust to that. So I think that's where everybody's we're watching them lose it because it's hard to try to get a grasp on that new thing after you've been so accustomed to, life being a certain kind of way.
I think that, I know for me, being an educator, being a teacher, working in the community, this kind of blindsided everybody. Leadership at the highest of levels chose not to respond the way that it should have. And because we were not prepared as we typically are, people weren't prepared. And I think that now what you're seeing is this influx of panic in every aspect. Churches were not prepared, ministries were not prepared, individuals were not prepared, families were not prepared. And so we put this undue amount of stress on those in the various different community positions to try to serve people, to get them what they need. And I think that everyone is doing the best that they can. But unfortunately, we are still seeing the rippling effects of what happens when decisions are not made properly. And to D. Lloyd's point, death and everything that has happened has shocked everybody. So people who have lost somebody didn't get to do funerals that they wanted to do, or you were condensed to 10 people in a room. School systems have had now to adjust businesses have everyone working from home. You never know, and because there's no cure, there's this underlining uncertainty that exists. And so I do believe that we're working through it, but that fear of what happens or what if is ever present until we have a cure. And even after a cure is found, people still gonna be afraid because they don't want to take it.
And I think kind of what you guys were saying about the norms changing, I think it's piling up on people. Early on in this process, my accountant died, and it was shocking to me. And just how random this COVID thing is, because actually he was doing some papers for me, and I was supposed to pick them up earlier in the week, but got busy. Now, had I picked them up early in the week, I probably would have been exposed myself.
Wow.
But I called him on Thursday to make arrangements to come pick him up. And he said, man, I'm not feeling well. And I said, really, what's going on? He was just telling me he had a couple things going on. And I said, well, hey, don't worry about it. I said, we'll figure this paper thing out. And so I called him back on Friday, and he sent me a text saying, can I hit you later? And I'm like, sure. I was really just checking in to see how you were doing. On Saturday, his wife called and told me they rushed him to the hospital.
Wow.
And on Sunday afternoon, they called and told me he was gone.
Wow.
And I was like, what do you mean gone? I mean, like me trying to process it. I'm like, there's that piece of you that want to say, oh, no, this must be a mistake.
Right.
And then to see what his wife had to go through, like, I don't think she ever saw him again.
Wow.
Because to get his body, she had to sign an agreement that they sealed him in some kind of plastic bag, and then she had to buy a special coffin, a casket, and that was a double seal. So I don't know if she ever saw him again.
Jesus.
I had another friend in Philly. Now they're out in the Jersey area. His wife died, and they made him sign an agreement to have her cremated. So he never saw her. And so crazy. When you haven't, the purpose of funerals is to kind of give you that closure.
Yeah.
And so when you can't do that, and I've had a number of people that I know that are dealing with stuff, and they're saying, well, I didn't get to say goodbye, or I wasn't there when they took their last breath. And then it's kind of like you said, you get things like Kobe, then COVID, and then our king.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Chadwick Boseman.
And let alone the protests and George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and Sean Reed, and you keep piling this stuff on and piling it on, and I think it's starting to take a toll on people.
Yeah. In screenwriting, oftentimes they'll tell you when you're writing a script, if you're doing a drama or even if you're doing a horror film, anything of that nature, you have to give people a breath.
Yes.
So they can process, like you said, Pastor, they can process what's going on, and then you can move them to the next arc, so to speak. And that's the very thing, what you're saying. We haven't had time to process anything. Like you said, it's just one thing after another. I follow Victor Oladipo. And after, Chadwick Boseman's passing, he tweeted, he was like, it's just too much going on right now.
Yeah.
It's just way too much going on. And I think, it sounds cliche, but I think that if you don't have, if you haven't been participating in an active relationship with the Lord, then it's really heavy on you.
Yes.
That is the only thing I'm honestly, from my heart of hearts, that is the only thing that has kept me. That short of that, I'll be a basket case, because it's just too much. It's just too much.
I think to segue that, you also have to actively participate in a relationship with yourself.
Good point.
Because I think the other part of that is that people, even those of us who have a religious perspective or religious relationship or spiritual relationship, you can still get lost in that too. You can still get lost in the mechanics of being a Christian or mechanics of being Islamic or whatever your faith of choice is. I think there's a healthy balance that you need to understand of yourself, of knowing you, and then knowing God's role in the process of you knowing you. I know for me, this season has been a little difficult. And so I have had to really start thinking about myself, which has been hard because I don't typically do that. And so now all of these things have caused me to actually start putting myself into perspective. You know, it's okay if you have to miss some event, if you can't get to church today for praise team, and whatever you need to sustain your peace, which to me is a part of working out my own soul salvation. That was my responsibility that God gave me, that he gave us. And so when I am overwhelmed or I feel something, it's my responsibility, not the responsibility of those around me, to figure that out, because you know first. And so, yes, our relationship with God is important, but the other aspect of that is your relationship with you, because if you're not honest with yourself in God, then you can completely miss it. And we see that every single day. So,
I think it is a season where you absolutely have to be more self-aware.
Absolutely.
Because I think a lot of times we kind of just go on this automatic pilot. And when the norms have changed, you can get way off and not really recognize it. And so staying very sensitive to what you're feeling, and kind of, you know, particularly as Black men, we are notorious for burying our feelings. And so I think that can be very dangerous, because I think they can well up on you if you're not careful. And then you get this explosion, and then you almost like don't know, where did that come from?
Yeah, Toby, I like what you said, man, as far as when you talk about being in a relationship with yourself. One of the things I've learned, and I started to learn it, or acquiesce my mindset to it before COVID even hit, was that I have to be present in the moment. Most people either live in the future or they live in the past. They're